This public podcast is brought to you by the Ray O'Kay Group.
Slip, slop, slap, seek and slide, have fun outside, but don't get fried. Slip on a shirt, slop on sunscreen, slap on a hat, seek shade, slide on sun.
Slip, Slop, Slap, one of the most successful Australian sun safety campaigns in pushing forward the significance of taking care of one's skin from the sun. The jingle was first introduced to the public in 1980 and still to this day is promoted through different forms of media, ultimately enforcing an important message of prevention, particularly to the Australian youth. Numerous sun safety campaigns like this one are targeted towards young Australians, and of course, targeting this age group leads to long-term positive outcomes. However, when it comes to the older generations of Australians, there are notably less campaigns that are targeted towards them. One prominent and new campaign is the Ray O'Kay campaign, which is garnering a lot of attention because of its target age range of the elderly. In this podcast, we will explore the underlying issue to this in relation to skin cancers in Australia, and why it is crucial for older Australians to be aware of sun safety and skin cancers. Further in our podcast, we will be talking to a guest speaker, representative of the SunSmart Australia program, so make sure you stay tuned in for that. Okay, but first, what really is skin cancer? Well, we know that the skin protects us from heat, sunlight, injury, and infection, along with a number of other biological functions. Skin cancer occurs when the cells of the skin are damaged, normally due to overexposure to UV radiation from the sun. The three predominant types of skin cancer are basal cell carcinoma, squamous cell carcinoma, as well as melanoma, which is the most dangerous form of skin cancer and is the third most common cancer among the Australian population. Such a high incidence of skin cancer among Australians goes to show how essential it is to thus take preventative measures, and of course, raising awareness among our society is the best way to convey this critical message. Australia is facing an ageing population. In 1964, less than 1 million Australians were over the age of 65. In 2014, this figure increased by around 3 times, with 3.4 million Australians aged 65 and over. Proportionately, the number of Australians that were over the age of 65 in 1964 made up 8% of the population, compared to the 15% that made up the population in 2014. With trends like these predicted to keep increasing, as according to the Australian Bureau of Statistics, it's more important now than ever that these older Australians are aware of the risks of skin cancer along with prevention. I met up with David Wild, the SunSmart Services Coordinator of the SunSmart Australia program. He has coordinated the National SunSmart Early Childhood and Schools program in the ACT and has worked alongside local workplaces, communities and social media in pushing for skin cancer prevention. I asked David, who has been involved in numerous SunSmart campaigns, as to why such campaigns are not targeted towards older Australians. He simply says that it is because it is harder to reach this age range compared to implementing policies in schools.
But as far as the thing is with programs, because the Cancer Council, a lot of our efforts are based on early prevention at an early level. They're key settings, they're target audiences, they're groups that are there. So, for example, schools have policy, so we can work with schools and we can make a large cultural change. Workplaces now have work health and safety policy, so we really push for that. So when we start talking about, a general message, it's a lot harder to control because it's a general message. There's no policy. I can't make anybody out there today be SunSmart, but I can, in schools, dictate that the kids wear hats.
However, there is more to this issue of campaign targeting than just accessibility of the age group. David admits that funding is another key reason, as the government looks at what would be more successful. Investing resources into schools to further propel the idea of prevention against the sun is said to be more fruitful in the long run.
Thing is with any health, I guess if we look at public health, there's a whole array of tools we use to capture a population. So one of those is obviously campaigning at a larger level, like an overall campaign, but that costs a lot of money. And unless you've got an investment from the government who will say we'll invest and support you for the next 10 years or 5 years or 20 years, it's really hard to get traction because it's all about health. Public health messages are all about ongoing messages to change the psyche of a country.
When asked in regards to Australia's ageing population, David states the alarming fact of skin cancer in Australia.
Yes, so skin cancer, melanoma rates continue to go up because we have an ageing population.
Which makes sense, as melanoma rates increase in incidence with age. Just as it was mentioned earlier in this podcast, raising awareness of skin cancers among the elderly is thus more crucial now than it ever has been. However, David points out that for the older age group, rather than prevention, detection becomes the most critical aspect of being sun-safe and skin-conscious.
So, I mean, I talk to old men's groups and that about early detection. I'm going to a group next month, a men's shed, and it's men in their 70s, just to remind them to be aware of changes and to talk to their doctor. So whilst I wouldn't be there pushing so much for them to be putting sunscreen on and to be sun smart, it's important and they should be. The focus would be more about, changes to your skin and to talk and I guess to see a GP earlier. Yeah. So our message would be, so if I'm talking to a workplace, I would say once you hit about 40, we start seeing more people, more non-melanoma skin cancers occur. So certainly age of 40 onwards, we're looking at sores that are changing shape, size, colour. So it might be a sore that's bleeding on your ear, your nose, exposed areas. Whereas melanoma can occur in younger people, but as I said, the majority occur in older people.
Ultimately, David concludes his interview with us with one final message.
Am I too old to be sun smart? No, you're 40, 50, 60. You should still wear a hat and protect your skin, but you should also be more aware of early detection.
And indeed, it is never too late to protect one's skin and to be aware of the risks of the sun. In 2013, the Australian Institute for Health and Welfare found that despite how dangerous skin cancer is, if detected early on, the survival rate of 5 years is 90% for those diagnosed, which is fairly high compared to other types of cancers such as ovarian and lung cancers. As we explored in this podcast, there is a lack in campaigns aimed at older Australians when it comes to skin cancers, even though there are numerous benefits of raising awareness. This is why the Ray OK campaign by the Ray OK Group was established as the first official public campaign aimed at all older Australians. The people behind the campaign realised how crucial it was to captivate the older age group of Australians for the purpose of sun safety, and have thus started up a user-friendly website with information to engage and educate the audience. Some elements of their campaign include a subsidised skincare line for the elderly, which can be bought by younger Australians too. All profits go to the Cancer Council for further cancer research. The website also links to numerous other resources, a 24/7 sun safety hotline where you can ask questions, as well as other quick information about skin cancers. Ultimately, no matter how old you are or where you're from, or who you are, your skin belongs to you. So why not, as the Ray OK campaigns say, protect the skin that you're in.
Thank you for listening to this podcast. If you had any questions or queries, please don't hesitate to call us on 123-456-7890, or you can check out our website at rayokcampaign.wixsite.com/rayok.